Well, come on, chap. Okay? That's good. You can't stop. No, but better do that when it's quiet.
Yeah, I suggest that was the problem, that cloud there, I think, probably, which caused it to go very dark for a bit. Clearly Dave wasn't told either. He didn't do a 4:33, did he? I'm sure he must have missed that.
Oh,
Filming at 7.
guys just put it on.
Messrs Gibbon and Finch. Finch 22, Gibbon 18, and there are 24 overs left, so basically an hour and a half's cricket. But if Yorkshire do get this last wicket, which they will hope to do, clearly, we will lose 2 of those. And tactically, I was just saying to Jonathan that I think the hour and a half, basically, this last wicket pair have taken out of the game, for me, increases the chance of Yorkshire batting again rather than bowling, I think.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
Just to get some extra rest into the limbs, I think is probably what you're meaning, isn't it? And yeah, I think at the moment it's a 50-50, call. Matthew Fisher and Ben Cole. I mean, let's check back and see when the last time either of them took part with the ball was. We go back through over by over. Take a minute.
I don't think they've bowled against this pair at all. Would be my hunch.
Lyth Moriarty, Lyth Steckerty. Lyth Steckerty.
See, the over rate now is +2, so they've adjusted that at the tea break, and with the spinners on, Yorkshire have clawed it back. So Moriarty is to bowl the 78th over of the innings in quite bright sunshine now, and it's swept away. First ball by Ben Gibbon on the bounce. He hasn't timed it, so there's a long chase around the boundary, and they will come back for a couple. Matthew Fisher does the fielding. And remember, for Worcestershire, the target, if there is such a thing at the moment, is 258. That would avoid the follow-on and force Yorkshire to bat in the third innings. Moriarty round the wicket, and again steered away by Gibbon. He'll get at least one. There's a chase for Finley Bean. There won't be a second run. Bean's throw from mid-wicket is in quickly.
And the answer is the last ball bowled by either Fisher or Code was the wicket of Joe Leach, the last ball of the 54th over. So they've had a rest, the pair of them, for what will be 24 overs come the end of this one.
Moriarty in once more and squeezed out by Finch all along the ground out to Hill.
So 24 overs, the best part of a couple of hours, plus 20-minute tea break.
Yeah. They have still been out there though, and Finch into the ground, can't beat Hill as he tries to play that into the gap on the offside. There's just a slip and a short leg for Moriarty, otherwise the field has three saving, one on the offside and one on the leg side. Moriarty in once more, and again Finch out to Hill at short extra. Yeah, Code is limbering up. Moriarty and his glasses. Bowls once more and Finch defends. End of the first over of the final session on this, the third day. I think it will be Moriarty and Lyth until over 80. And then the new ball pair to try and sort it out from a Yorkshire point of view. 218 for 9, Worcestershire.
Yes, so Lyth going to continue at the New Road end. Bowling to Ben Gibbon, 21 for him off 65 deliveries. Number 11. In comes Lyth. And Gibbon right over the top, no run. Just been asked by, as you might expect, a couple of members of the press when we walked out there at team, what's going on? They've taken their foot completely off the throat. As that's pushed into the offside, and Bean, now a chance for a run out here. Ooh, he's got back as Ben Gibbon. Finley Bean doing the fielding, and it was a smart throw over the top, but he just didn't have enough time to get balanced and get the ball away from his body back to Tattersall. So that allowed Gibbon some recovery time. Another stride down the pitch, and that would have been that, I think, for Ben Gibbon, who's playing more solidly forward to a no ball bowled by Adam Lyth. Wow. That's a shocker. And he comes again. And that is dropped into the leg side of straight, and the ball around to do the fielding.
179 was the score when these two joined forces.
One of the better partnerships of the innings, isn't it, really? As Lyth in again, that's pushed out into the offside by Gibbon.
The highest partnership is 48. This one at the moment is 41.
Lyth in again, Gibbon solidly forward, no run. .220 for the loss of 9 wickets, for whom the bells are tolling, or bell tolls. Gibbon pushing into the offside, where Bean does the fielding to complete over number 79. Lyth 5 overs, 3 maidens, none for 6, costing nothing and costing himself a run there. Well, he's beaten the bat on a few occasions, but not quite managed to nick Moriarty. I suspected he's going to continue at the Diglis end. None for 21 off 13 overs and 4 maidens for him. And 6 more deliveries before the new ball can be taken. And as Ian called it, Ben Code certainly, and Matthew Fisher also now winging their arms around.
So Moriarty to bowl the 80th over, and that's may have just straightened a bit off the line as Adam Finch lets it go. Elsewhere in the ODI at Bristol, Australia 263 for 8 at the end of their 50 overs. England are 79 for 1 in the 10th, so a good start. Finch might have wanted a single there, a little dab past short leg, but Gibbon wasn't interested. Finlay Bean does the fielding. Give it the county scores as briskly as I can through this Moriarty over. Trots in again, left arm round the wicket, shirt outside his trousers, and that is pushed out by Finch on the offside. At the Oval, Surrey 355 and 133 for 1 against Notts 399, so Surrey's lead is 89. Surrey Loney Moriarty with 3 balls left in this over. Finch to face his 100th delivery, and again it's defended back up the pitch. Moriarty fields at Merchant Taylor School. Northants 219 and 265 for 3, Middlesex 277, so the Northants lead is 207 with 7 wickets in hand. Moriarty in again to Finch, who plays that on the bounce, or about 3 or 4 bounces actually up to mid-off, and no run. Canterbury, Kent 171 and 267 for 6, Warwickshire 549 for 7 declared, so Kent still in arrears by 111 with only 4 wickets left. Moriarty in again, and Finch again plays the same shot up to mid-off, no interest in a run. End of the 80th over, Moriarty 0 for 21, Finch has 22, Gibbon has 21, and I'll complete the Division 1 scores at Taunton. Somerset 500, Hampshire 325 for 8, quite a rally there, but they're still behind by 175. And at Blackpool, as the new ball is to be taken by Yorkshire, Essex 282 and 119 for 3, Lancashire 145 all out, so Essex ahead by 256. And I'll do the Div 2 scores in a little while.
The wilderness of Division 2, as one of our colleagues called it.
Well,
Matthew Fisher, second new ball has been taken. He's bowling it now. First up to Gibbon, who immediately gets a single through the offside. So the maidens come to an end with the new ball, and of course there is that possibility that they may score more quickly, and they are closing in on a batting point, and the avoidance of follow on only takes a few edges. Not necessarily that they have to be edges, they might be full-blooded shots.
there is one game in Division 2 that might finish today.
Here's Fisher. Now then a withdrawal of bat here from Finch. No run.
So, as we have Fisher on, elsewhere in Division 2, at Cardiff, Glamorgan 309 for 8 in their first innings against Leicestershire. That's the first innings of the match still, after a lot of rain in South Wales. At Hove, Sussex 402 and 114 for 4, Derbyshire 407, so Sussex's lead is 109. And the game that might be over today involves the leaders Durham, who are close to another win.
Are we? Fisher. Finch pushing back to him, no run.
So Gloucestershire 315 and 175 for 8. Durham 453. So Gloucestershire's lead is 38 with 2 wickets left. Could be in terms of, could be into the elements of the extra half an hour there, perhaps.
I will. Won't it be sunny? Late will be good. Fisher over the wicket, and Finch leaning forward and then shouldering arms. So now immediate ending of this Worcestershire partnership, and with it the innings. 4 deliveries in for Matthew Fisher. 2 for 61 against his name.
In that Gloucestershire second innings, Matthew Potts has 4 wickets.
So Fisher pushes off again, comes in passed on by Chris Watts. It's full and it's worked around the corner. David Milne's taking cover at square leg. He had no idea where it had gone. He went down to long leg, fine leg really, and Ben Code was round to that position to field. He travelled so quickly that they could only get the 1 run. 222, unfortunately. 9 sort of spoiled it, didn't it?
Yeah, not for 2.
Gibbon on 22. He's on strike. Fisher to Gibbon then, who leaves another Matthew Fisher delivery. Didn't cost him much that over, but couldn't take a wicket, and that's what Yorkshire want here. 20 overs remaining in the day. 96 of them tomorrow as well, when we believe that we've got a clear forecast and we'll get a full day's play in, if we need a full day's play.
Yorkshire now, I say, ahead on the over rate, so they've averted that problem from earlier. And Ben Code to come into the attack. So remember, the last wicket fell at the end of the 54th over. So 27 overs this pair have occupied the crease. And Code back into the attack and immediately finding the middle of Finch's bat, who defends back up on the onside. When Jonathan and I left the ground last night, there was a large rainbow over the cathedral. The sky was pretty colourful. We had that storm at about 7:15, and without the rainbow, the ground would look very similar this evening, or push it that from Finch, taken by Tattersall, but no edge.
What is going on out there? 8 deliveries with the new ball.
Fred would want it, wouldn't he? Want the new ball. Ball at the tail ender. Fast and straight.
Won't need 8 deliveries, I can promise you that, lad.
Don't get many people on television now who smoke pipes, do you?
No. Philip Sharp at Slippy, they've had him. They got the nick.
You're not missing anything. Finch on the wander, and you can only imagine the Yorkshire frustration over the last 2 hours at not being able to dislodge these two. Oh, again, Finch close to play at that as well, but again he's down the wrong line, or down the right line from his point of view, because there's no edge. Taken by Tattersall. So 43 these two have added. Finch 23 not out. And again defends. Just a reminder of the highest score of these two batters. Gibbon's highest score is 30 and Finch's highest score is 33.
I've forgotten I've got a 33 to do at Humberside actually.
So Jonathan will leave us for a moment to update our friends either side of the Humber. I did go and see the camera operators at T. Those of you who are watching on the stream, and they have, I've been told, reloaded the software at T. So hopefully that has sorted out the syncing problem between the audio commentary and the pictures for you for this last session of the day. 3 slips for code. Comes in from the Diglis end, and again Finch plays exactly the same shot. He pushes at a ball that he thinks he needs to play at. He doesn't get a touch, and the bowler has probably 3 moral victories in the over, but nothing in the wickets column. Not that Code hasn't bowled well today. He has. He's been accurate. He's given very little away. Only one really poor over, in which I think he conceded 2 boundaries, but also got a wicket. The wicket of Jack Haynes, and apart from that, he's been efficiency personified. 5 for 29 he's taken. Matthew Fisher trying to finish this Worcestershire first innings. A screen for 2 from Gibbon as he steered that away past point, and coming right round from the third man boundary. Dan Moriarty, left-handed, throws the ball in, and as Worcestershire get teasingly close to this follow, 224 for 9 Worcestershire, and this last wicket pair has been very, very awkward for Yorkshire. Gibbon and Finch, 24 and 23 respectively, have now added 45 for the last wicket. It's the second highest stand of the innings, and it's kept Yorkshire out there far longer than they would have expected. They would have hoped to have been either batting or bowling again at the top order, but this last wicket partnership probably means that they'll have to bat and set up a game with some brisk scoring. For Worcestershire early on today, Adam Hose made 38, Joe Leach made 33, but it's been a bits and pieces card until this very determined last wicket stand. The target for the follow-on, or avoiding it, is 258, so it's not impossible, but they're now facing the second new ball. 5 wickets for Code, 2 for Steckerty, and 2 for Matthew Fisher, but Worcestershire 224 for 9 in reply to Yorkshire's 407. Commentary continues with 19 overs left on the day on the BBC Sport website and on the app. And here is Fisher in once more, and again that's let go by Ben Gibbon. Looking at the number of balls faced by these 2 batsmen this season in first team cricket. So Adam Hose had only faced 129 balls, Adam Finch only 129 balls all season until this match, and he's faced 112 in this innings, and Ben Gibbon 139, and he's faced 78, and from the 79th he'll get a single. Pushed out on the offside. One more, 225 for 9, and the stand creeping up towards the highest of the day. And it would have been hard, I would suggest, at 3:30 to have predicted who I might have wanted to speak to at the close from a Worcestershire point of view. I think in the end it may end up being possibly Ben Gibbon. Fisher completes his over.
Yeah, and if you're going to be hypercritical of the pair of them here with the new ball so far, they've just been a little bit too short with anything that's beaten the bat. Ben Code's over when I was out there doing my update. Very much top of off stump bowler, and it was just over the top of off stump really, so lengthwise it doesn't need a massive adjustment. But clearly doing something with it from the yelps out there. Again, it's very difficult from this commentary position. We're at third man to the right-handed Ben Gibbon when Ben Code is bowling. Let's see what it does here.
46 the stand is worth. Code in, and the appeal from LBW for the collective cordon. Not interested, David Milnes, at all. And Gibbon, if you can put it this way, survives again. Very pleasant evening now. The dark cloud that there is around the ground is at the far end, so at least we can see it. It doesn't look to be rain bearing. Quite bright sunshine, and Gibbon clips that into the leg side. That'll be at least one. They may get a couple, and they'll come back 4-2. There is ground to be made up by Fisher, and they'll come back for a couple. There was a suggestion you made, Jonathan, that at tea, maybe was it from a correspondent who said that Yorkshire had kind of assumed they would take the last wicket, and
yeah,
oh, it'll come, and it hasn't yet. And Code again beats the outside to Gibbon's bat, and it goes through to Tattersall. So this stand is now equal with the best of these Worcestershire first innings of 48.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just don't see enough of the batters. You know, there's all the videos and all the rest of it these days, and I'm sure any dismissals for these pairs that are on video will have been seen by the Yorkshire bowlers. You would have thought so.
Code, and again from the far end. And wait is the cry from Ben Gibbon. He's not interested in a potential of a single there. Doesn't want to give this away.
But you're never quite sure if they know exactly what their plans are against the tail. And it's not just Yorkshire, is it, by any stretch of the imagination? Worcestershire struggled to get Ben Code out, for example. It very often happens in cricket that the tail will wag.
Code back at the end of his run. Past umpire Milnes, and Gibbon thinks about one, starts to go as he punches it down the ground, but there's not enough weight on that shot, and Moriarty fields, and Finch stays exactly where he was, which is at the non-striker's end, disinterested in the idea of a run.
You can think of, without having the stats in front of you, numerous test matches that we've watched over the years, probably as television spectators at home, where England have been frustrated by somebody, or they've frustrated somebody themselves. Not necessarily all 2 or 3 wickets, but maybe just one of them.
Gibbon waits for Code, and he's steered that past the left hand of Revis, who slides to pull off the stop at backward point. There'll just be one, and there'll be a big round of applause if these two can get one more, and that'll give them a 50 partnership for this 10th wicket. And Gibbon now close to a career best score with the bat.
But yeah, if you don't see somebody play that often, I mean, for example, Ben Code got runs. There's a fair bit of evidence out there on video if you want to watch Ben Code bat to think about how you might want to bolt him, which I don't think Worcestershire either had looked at, or if they did, they didn't apply that in bowling at him yesterday when he got his 40-odd. Matthew Fisher with a fairly quick delivery on the rise as it goes past Ben Gibbon. Through to Tattersall, no run. And you've got to just, if nothing else is working, whatever it is you try in the early part of somebody's innings, then you go back to the orthodox, I think.
Yeah.
If it's good enough to get out a good player. Fisher in again to Gibbon, who plays a good leave, and again Matthew Fisher. It's hard to tell what line he's bowling from here. But lengthwise, there's been a few that could have been left on length alone. He's just that bit further back down the pitch, and yet we know he can get it right up there. We saw that dismissal of Adam Hose, for example, where he took out off stump. Here he comes again, Fisher, once more. It's a little bit too short, doesn't induce a drive, so he's got to think of something different if he wants to take the wicket. Maybe straighten it a little, but certainly think about getting it a bit fuller. The ball's still just in its 5th over of use.
Yes, Finch didn't look awfully happy against the short stuff from Revis, but I think it's been pitched up. These two, yes, they've been beaten a bit, but
feels like he's a little bit further up, but again he's got an easy leave, so presumably wide of off stump. They've only scored 8 runs with this ball, so it's not taken any sort of damage yet. Maybe that means the lacquer's taking a little bit longer to come off.
yes, it's been a crawl from the point when Leach was out to this stage for Worcestershire. So they've not made a big dent in that Yorkshire lead.
Fisher again, that's better, because it actually brings the batsman into play this time, and he can't deal with it, wraps him on the pad. But no appeal from the Tykes.
But at one stage, you and I were discussing, well, 179 for 9. Well, might Worcestershire be less than 200? Well, now they're, close to 230. And 50 runs in the game when you've had rain and bad luck take time out of it feels increasingly significant now.
Yep, Fisher in again. Gibbon pushing out into the offside. We're at Rickleton Fields to complete that, the 85th over, so 29 overs since Yorkshire last took a wicket. That's basically 2 hours in the field.
Only 16 overs left on the day now, so that number is ticking down as well. The two batsmen just punching gloves and have a chat, I'm sure motivating each other to see how close they can get to this follow-on target. Can they even get past it? They still need 29. 29 would get them level, 257. Code trying to finish things off. Finch again defends. Sometimes tailenders they either lose the confidence to stay for a long time, or they lose their patience, and these two haven't lost either of it, to be fair. There've only been 3 boundaries whilst they've been out there. 1 to Finch and 2 to Gibbon, but that's not been the point. Again, a line from Code, and the bounce with the new ball is just enough to be able to allow Finch to leave that. He's looking where his front foot was, whether it was far enough across, but he had enough cover there for the ball to go through to Tattersall. George Hill just pointing out something to Matthew Revis from the first slip position. 3 slips, 3 saving 1 on the offside and 3 on the leg side for Code. And again, Finch defends. This might be the final day of a game for the way these two are going about this.
Final day for Brits at Wimbledon by the looks of things. Baines and Lumsden knocked out of the quarter-final of the women's doubles. Jamie Murray and his partner are the men's doubles. Neil Skupski and his partner have won in the men's doubles quarter-final, so through to the semis.
Code in, and Finch might take one. He thought about it there into the leg side, but I think that's Wharton again with the lightweight pads under his trousers who does the fielding. Durham are batting in their chase to beat Gloucestershire on day 3. Gloucestershire all out for 188. Durham's target is 52. So if the weather holds, they might well try and finish that tonight.
Where's that again?
That's at Chesley Street. Code. In again, and Finch defends. I wonder if this is... we know it's close to Gibbons' first-class best score. I wonder if it's the longest that these two have batted in terms of number of balls faced. Could be uncharted territory for them. But it's been a determined effort. Code once more, and Finch almost plays that to Wharton. It's gone back past him on the bounce, and there is the single for the 50 partnership. And there's a warm round of applause from the Worcestershire supporters in the ground, because they have frustrated Yorkshire now for 32 overs. it was the last ball of the 54th over when the last wicket fell. 229 for 9.
Yes, a pretty disappointed effort collectively out there so far to not be able to take the 10th wicket after such a length of time. Just felt like they'd lost their way, didn't it? Particularly before tea. They've had the new ball in the hand here for 6 overs now. Still haven't been able to separate them. Here comes Fisher. Has he done it with this ball? Tattersall thinks so. Chris Watts does not think that he got a nick on it there. Adam Finch.
And one of the score I'll bring you an update on is the Women's ODI, where England are chasing 264 to beat Australia. They're 120 for 2 in the 16th over. That's a day-night game at Bristol.
Going very well then. Fisher over the wicket once more. Is this the one? His big appeal from Matthew Fisher. Very demonstrative in imploring Chris Watts to raise the finger, but he's unmoved.
And Finch has to forget the fact that there have been appeals from the last 2 balls. Just face the one that's in front of him.
Ashley Giles just passing below the comment box. Another good delivery from Fisher, which is on the climb as Tattersall takes it. And a bit of a yahoo from Adam Lyth from second slip, but
Fisher can't quite believe what's happened in this over. There is no justice as far as he's concerned.
well, he's got to take him out then, hasn't he? He's got to capitalise on this pressure. 229 for 9. Pushes off. And then once again. And this time Finch does get to use his bat and pushes into the offside. Rickleton fields. Adam Lyth's seen something that has drawn him out of second slip to put his arm around the shoulder of Matthew Revis, and he's offering him some information here.
Maybe just a word of encouragement. Sometimes it's not about the ability, it's about the management of the thought process, isn't it? This kind of situation.
So Finch waits, here's Fisher. And solidly behind it, wouldn't you know? It's fuller in length, this. And no run.
I think it was the first time I ever heard this from a coach was when John Bracewell was in charge of New Zealand, and he spoke about the process a lot. What do you mean by that, John? Well, it's just the process, and he just explaining that you have a plan, and you go through the plan meticulously, and you try not to deviate from it too much, in the belief that it was right when you thought of it in the first place. Particularly when you get to test level. And if everybody plays their part in what John used to call the process, then you don't concern yourself with the winning. It's about the getting there and how you get there, and if all the careful homework is used effectively, then the result looks after itself. You wonder where the frustration from Matthew Fisher was just seen by Adam Lythe. He wanted to nip it in the bud and say, no. Just go back to what you know. So Ben Code out of the attack. So a little surprisingly. And Steckety back into it from the Diglius end. And again, that's let go by Gibbon. We have 13 overs after this one today at New Road, light permitting. Light is fine at the moment. And Matthew Rivers just being asked if he can pass a message on. I think Matthew Fisher wants a drink. And James Luxton, Will Luxton as you were, is going to bring one out. That's down the leg side, and Steckety, at least he doesn't get flicked to fine leg for 4. Tattersall with a clean take. 229 for 9, Worcestershire, in reply to 407. But the follow-on figure 257 plus 1 from a Worcestershire perspective. Gibbon 28, Finch 24. Steckety in, and was that just short of Johnny Tattersall? It was definitely off the bottom of the bat, but I don't think it carried to the keeper.
Don't know what was going on with BBC Radio York there. I was late, dialed in and got 5 live. Got tennis commentary. Maybe they've moved to Salford.
Did you talk to the people of Ripon and Harrogate?
Nope.
Pleasant shot. Very nice shot from Ben Gibbon. That's going to get him past his career best score with a very pleasant boundary up to the long off boundary at the Basil D'Oliveira stand end of the ground. That's a lovely shot. Gibbon to 32, into the 30s for the first time in his Worcestershire career. 233 for 9. And now, of course, it starts getting a little bit dangerous for these two, because they can, when they first got in, the concept of trying to save the follow-on probably wasn't in their heads. And now they can see it. Can they hold their nerve? Gibbon lets that go from Steckety outside the off stump.
As Billy Bramner once said about the Leeds fans when they're on their way towards and ultimately failing to get to the 1987 FA Cup final, the fans, they can smell something.
They can
like
what?
that, isn't it? They can smell something. Like they can smell the follow on this pair.
258. Well, they've got to get to 25 more. Oh, jabbed into the ground, and Gibbon will get one more from his 97th ball he's faced. Steckety will take his cap, and if they do squeeze their way past 258 here, then Worcestershire will have gone quite a long way to shortening the time they've got to save the game in the second innings, or shortening the chase perhaps, if Yorkshire want to really set something up. But there was that chat about the Gloucestershire game. We had that a little earlier in the afternoon. On that occasion it was felt that the batting side had the benefit in a short chase, and therefore Yorkshire in the end didn't feel they had enough time to win, and they've had time significantly taken out of their potential plans here by these last two.
Matthew Fisher just giving the ball a polish. Can he apply some polish to finish off this Worcestershire first innings? 2:34 for 9. Leg slip now in place, as well as 3 slips, so maybe he's going to bowl this a little bit straighter. No, in fact he's now been pushed backward a point for 4. And Gibbon opening the face. Matthew Fisher getting that one wrong. 2:38 for 9. Gibbon on to 37 now from 98 deliveries.
They needed 79 to avoid the follow-on when these two joined forces.
They've got 59 of them. Fisher in again. Gibbon opening the face, running out to Revis at point. So if I thought it was going to bowl a little bit straighter, that doesn't appear to have been the case with those first 2 deliveries. Fisher 2 for 69 in his 21st over. 6 of the maidens. Comes in past umpire Chris Watts. There is an edge on this, but it's dropped short of Finley Bean at 3rd slip, so further frustration for Fisher and for Yorkshire. The edge, a rare edge during this partnership, induced, but dropped well short of Finley.
These two, you won't be surprised to know, have now both faced more deliveries in the innings than any of the other Worcestershire batsmen.
Here comes Fisher again, bangs one in short this time. Probably an element of frustration, and I'm surprised we've not seen more of that, I've got to say, this final pair. From those who've got the pace to do it, particularly Steckerty and Fisher. We did see some of it from Matthew Revis. As so often is the case, it's a waste of energy, that particular one, because it was too high, too short. Can he get one of them right? Can he bowl him out here? He's bowled him a fuller delivery, and that's pushed away through the covers. Revis chasing it down. Not going to win the race though. The ball does that. Gibbon into the 40s. Worcestershire into the 240s. And Yorkshire snarling out there. Body language is
a very good word.
Double teapots from Finley Bean and from Mark Steckerty. A lot of it's gone quiet.
There's a bit of tension among the Worcestershire supporters here as the Cathedral strikes 6 o'clock. They know they're teasingly close to saving this follow-on. Only 16 more.
Fisher to Gibbon, bangs another one in way too short to cause him any trouble. Happy to duck underneath it. End of the 21st for Matthew Fisher. 6 maidens, 2 for 73. And Worcestershire 242 for 9. Needing another 16 runs to avoid the follow-on.
Yes, it feels as if we've only been talking about this partnership for most of the day. Since mid-afternoon, in fact, where they've 63 is what they've put on. They've taken their time. They've occupied a lot of overs, 35 in fact of the day, and I think that Yorkshire had a really poor day in the field. Well, in reality it was absolutely fine for the first half. Here is Code continuing, and is there a nick there? Umpire Milnes.
Oh, sounded like it, didn't it?
Oh, I thought he was going to give it, actually. Tattersall was convinced. I thought he was going to put the finger up and walk to take the bails off to the end of the innings, but he didn't, and the appeal was turned down.
Certainly sounded, would it?
Ben Kodak having a word with umpire Milnes as he walked back, but Finch remains. Code bristling probably at that decision going against him. Ball's another good length ball that again Finch is equal to. Reddish down at third man just having a drink. Gibbon 41, Finch 24. 242 for 9 Worcestershire. Short range target here, 250 and then 258. And that's edged, and this time there is a wicket, and frustratingly for Worcestershire, they are all out at 242. So Yorkshire do have the option, if they want to enforce the follow-on. Finch caught by Tattersall for 24 off Ben Code. Code finishes with 6 wickets, and Worcestershire 242.
Steckerty.
Of Steckerty, I do apologise. 242 all out. So the lead is extensive, and Worcestershire just dismissed for 242. The last wicket stand was worth 63 between Ben Gibbon and Adam Finch. Gibbon with a career best 41 not out, and Finch just dismissed, the last man to go, caught behind for 24. They occupied 35 overs of this third day. Yorkshire still have the option to enforce the follow-on should they wish to, but Worcestershire all out for 242. Code finishing with 5 for 33, Steckerty with 3 for 55, and Fisher 2 for 73. Gibbons 41, the highest score not only of his career but the highest score for Worcestershire in this match. We await news now of what Yorkshire want to do in terms of the follow-on. Worcestershire 242 all out in reply to Yorkshire's 407. There will be 9 overs left on the day. It remains to be seen who will bat. When commentary resumes, when play resumes, commentary will resume on the BBC Sport website and on the app.
I'll go with that.
In the Ashes game at Bristol, he made 140 for 3 in the 21st over, replying to Australia's 263 for 8.
Oh, the 3-hour wait paid off. fifth and final, which is in the 5 or 33, so one of the best performance against Texas. The really the back on the ranking, which is really special, isn't it? But something pretty special for us against Texas. So the coach of the Yorkshire is not enough there. And given nothing like those fireworks for him. He's come around for 120 and we mentioned the last man out caught behind by John Tansi, Mark Steckity. Steckity finished recently by the result from the penalty last week against Worcestershire. 73 for Matthew Fisher. Matthew Reddick still killed down on the outside. Within a stream track.
That overs for ending the day, as indicated by the score.
We've got some good photos.
David Mills and Chris Watson.
I hope so.
Heading.
A better one than would have got maybe 10 minutes if they hadn't been forced to follow on.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That was awful.
It's got a bit close, didn't it?
Umpires Chris Watts and David Milnes are on their way here at New Road. So the details of that Worcestershire innings, 242 all out they were in the 90th over in reply to Yorkshire's 407. So the lead is 165 and they have enforced the follow on. 9 overs remain tonight, and just the final details of that Worcestershire card. 2 wickets of course fell yesterday, Roderick and Libby. Today Azhar Ali, Court Hill bowled code 22, Haynes, Edward code 29, Hose bowled Fisher 38, Pollock caught Lythe bowled Steckity 0, Waite caught Bean bowled Steckity 11, Leach caught Bean bowled code 33, Baker caught Rickleton bowled code 12, and then that was 179 for 9, Leach the 9th man out, and then Finch and Gibbon added 63 for the last wicket. And here's the thing, Worcestershire have sent out the 10th wicket pair to open the innings for the 9 overs tonight. Well, they've spent longer in the middle than anybody else, and effectively Worcestershire then opening with 2 night watchmen against, one would assume, Fisher and Code to continue the attack to them. So that's a tactically interesting, and I might argue, curveball move from Alan Richardson and Kadir Ali. So Gibbon and Finch, who've been out there in the middle since 20 minutes to 4 together, are now going to face a new ball at the start of the Worcestershire second innings with a deficit of 165. And in a session like this, where it's only 9 overs, the only gain, surely, is to the fielding team. So, down the leg side go Ben Code with the first ball of the Worcestershire second innings, and Tattersall can't take it cleanly. But Gibbon will not be interested in a bye or a run off the bat or of any sort. So the bowling figures at the end of the first innings for Yorkshire, with Finch the last man out, caught by Tattersall off Steckety for 24. Code in once more, and we pushed hard at that, did Gibbon, and Tattersall took it, but there was no nick. 4 slips and a short leg for Ben Code. Gibbon in the end 41 not out, made in 2 hours and 3 minutes, a career best score for him, and I don't know what he would at some point today have expected to be opening the batting, but here he is doing just that. Code in, and Gibbon defends out on the offside. So Code 21 overs 11 maidens 5 for 33. These are first innings figures. Fisher 21 overs 6 maidens 2 for 73. Revis 8 overs 1 maiden no wicket for 22. Steckety, who got the last wicket, 15 overs 3 maidens 3 for 55. 15.3 overs 3 for 55. Hill 5 overs 1 maiden 0 for 27. Moriarty 14 overs 5 maidens 0 for 21. And Adam Lyth 5 overs 3 maidens 0 for 6. Here is Code at the start of the Worcestershire second innings, and Gibbon just drops that out into the leg side, and Wharton from short leg goes to field. So Worcestershire trying to protect Roderick and Libby and all the other top order batsmen by sending out the 2 men who had batted for 35.3 overs until 10 minutes previously. Code in, Gibbon again defends. So it's not a unique situation to do this, but it is somewhat unusual. Deficit 165, remember, and from Worcestershire's position, almost no way you can see them actually winning the game from here. It's a situation they faced against Derbyshire when they were even further behind and had to bat to save the game. Code in, and Gibbon just plays that softly into the leg side, fielded by Wharton. There is no run. Code starts with a maiden. We've seen a few of those today from him, and it will probably be Matthew Fisher to bowl to Finch. Bit of creative thinking from Worcestershire, Jonathan, don't you think, to send Gibbon and Finch out again?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's a bit of sort of McCullum and Stokes like tactic, isn't it, really? Given what they least expect.
And as you said, they've been out there since 20 to 4, so they ought to be seeing it as well as anybody who's going to go out there cold, in inverted commas. Fisher to home from the New Road end.
Yep, bowling here to Finch, who turns off his legs down to long leg, and they get through for a single. You'd laugh, wouldn't you, if they came up with Worcestershire's highest opening partnership of the season or something.
But they are, I mean, if one of these was to get out, I wonder if there is effectively another night watcher, or a protector effectively of the top order and pat it up.
Fisher in, and Finch, Gibbon I should say, leaves that one. Well, they might send in number 1 next to protect, 9 and 8.
Actually, of course, we've missed the line, haven't we, there, really? With Gibbon out there, it's a funky tactic from Worcestershire. Sorry.
Hmm.
I'll get my coat.
Well, there's a Finch out there as well, and that might have been considered a lot of Fisher in, and that's a nice shot by Ben Gibbon. Opens the face. We saw him do it a time or two when he was out there in the first innings, and he's just opened the face and run it down through third man for 4 runs. A load of chaff, I think they'll say.
Yes.
5 without loss. Given 4 from 8. That's the best net that these two have had for some time. 4 slips weight. Fisher and Gibbon dropping into the offside, no run.
I mean, you all have talked to enough quicker bowlers who all think they can bat. And they say they do take their batting seriously. They do practice, that it's not just, you know, have a 10-minute hit and that's enough. And perhaps this proves that these two aren't the worst 10 and 11 on the circuit.
It's Fisher again, and once more we see that Ben Gibbon forward defensive push. Well, more than a push.
So
Hit that quite
again,
hard, didn't he, really, to James
humour me
Thornton?
just a little bit. If any of the Yorkshire bowlers who aren't in the team were to play in the respective leagues in Yorkshire, where would they bat in a 45 or 50 over game on a weekend? Would they bat at as high as like 4, perhaps?
Good question. It's not something I really make a note of, as Fisher is in, and that's short of length. He's trying to turn it into the leg side. It balloons out into the off, but no run. 5 without loss after 2. Don't know, honestly. There's no point in me guessing, because no, there's just no point, is there?
It's like me appearing on Mastermind. There wouldn't be a point of that either. 5 without loss. Worcestershire, second time around. Remember, the deficit is 165. That's where they're starting from. So we're talking about well after lunch tomorrow, before they've got their noses in front. And then it's a question of merely occupying the crease, and that's really what it is tonight for these two. Can they see out the last 7 overs? Code from the far end finds the middle of Finch's bat, and they've seen quite a bit of that was Yorkshire in the second half of day 3. Now, Finch was put up for interview last night after his 5 wickets. I suspect it will be his last wicket partner today in the first innings who may be put up tonight. Finch has 1. Yorkshire 5 without loss. Worcestershire 5 without loss, as you were, and that's down the leg side from Code. Frustrating line for him. Generally, his line today has been very good. 5 for 33 in the first innings. Apart from the first spell, he's bowled from the Diglis end throughout the day, just the one early stint at the New Road end, then he changed ends and has kept going from that end. Here he is again, and once more Finch with quite an extravagant leave. Goes through to Tattersall. I'll just check on matters up at Chesley Street to see if Durham have in fact won. They're nearly there. 46 for 1. They need 6 more to beat Gloucestershire on the 3rd day. So that's almost done and dusted. Code in once more, and again Finch forward, quite a big stride, and pushes it out on the offside to Steckety. They are virtually over the hill and away in terms of promotion. I think that would be 5th win, I think, for them.
She and Max enjoy me trips to Chester Street and
Yeah,
done.
yeah. Fifth win out of 9. There is Code once more, clipped away this time by Finch, down to Matthew Fisher, who underarms the ball into Tattersall from in front of the hotel. Six without loss.
Yorkshire lad says, my 91-year-old mother-in-law says she's happy to bowl a couple of overs to break the partnership. Can you get a message out to Tats? Yorkshire lad, president, chairman, and all the rest of it, secretary of the Jonathan Tattersall fan club. Well, that was a while ago, but it turns out that comment is still pertinent.
Code in, or might have been a slightly slower ball there, but it's read by Ben Gibbon, who again defends, and Worcestershire have got 6 overs to see out tonight. Their opening pair in the second innings, being asked to follow on. 165 behind, bowled out for 242, and they are 6 without loss. In the Women's International, England 166 for 4 in the 28th over, so they need another 98 from 22 overs and 5 balls to beat Australia down at the county ground in Bristol.
Here's Fisher bowling to Finch, short ball taken above his head by Johnny Tat behind the stumps. No run, sun shining brightly. There's still plenty of grey cloud. It's been, even when we had sunshine, not at any stage in 3 days almost, a complete 3 days of the match, I've had not a cloud in view. There's always been something, and usually a lot of it, and that's the case at the moment. A few little get the teeth in right, dodgy, blue breaks, but they're only small in area. Fisher in again, and if you're trying to conserve energy, I'm not sure why you'd want to bowl it quite as short as that, Matthew.
Just see on that England scorecard, Tammy Beaumont 47, Alice Capsey 40, Nat Silverbrunt 31. They are all out. Heather Knight and Danny Wyatt are the not out batters at the moment. 166 for 4 in the 28th, chasing 264 to win.
Here's Fisher to Finch, another leave on length. Few gulls around, bit of gull traffic as we get towards the day's conclusion. 26 minutes past 6. I think that's it for updates. He didn't ask me to go back for another one, but you never know. Leeds United lost 2-0 to Manchester United, by the way, up in Oslo. Here's Fisher, and that is dropped behind him there by Finch. Finley Bean can't reel the ball in, so they get through for 1.
I don't want to be disparaging. That was in the Oslo pre-season Super Cup, was it? The Norwegian pre-season Super Cup.
Something exciting like that.
Yes.
It certainly would have excited the Norwegians, won't it? Because I'm sure there'll be a fair weight of Manchester United fans up there, but certainly loads of Leeds fans. Fisher bowling to Gibbon this time, who was able to take his bat out of the way. So if you're going to be critical of Matthew Fisher, you've got to say there's not enough deliveries that are asking the batters to play. And this is second over, 1.5 overs for 6.
Durham have won by 9 wickets. So first result of this round of championship games comes from the second division leaders, who beat Gloucestershire by 9 wickets with a day to spare. And maximum points as well.
24's plenty. As now then, thought he might have got a nick on that one. He did have a little push at it, Ben Gibbon. He's bowling with a fair lick of pace there is Matthew Fisher, despite the fact that he already bowled 21 overs in the first innings. So still putting his back into it. But that energy, I think, could be a little bit more concentrated on maybe bowling straighter at this pair. And you sort of feel like you wouldn't mind conceding a few more if you were getting the batters to use the willow. There was a short burst from Ben Code, 2 overs, and I was going to say to you in the previous over, I wonder how long it is before Steckety will get a go, because of course he took the final wicket, he broke that partnership, and he's bowling to the man who was last out in the first innings for Worcestershire just a few minutes ago.
Adam Finch waiting for Steckety then, who will have the maximum of 3 overs in this final phase of the day. Comes in and Finch again defends. Whether it was my eye deceiving me, that last delivery just looked a little bit more open-chested than some of those earlier in the day. Maybe that's a result of the work he's put in before. Was just 7 without loss, following on. Starting deficit 165, and again that's let go by Finch. He won't play at anything he really doesn't need to at this stage in the evening's proceedings. Light is fine, the sun is out, and I say we are forecast to have the best day weather-wise of the match tomorrow. So it's about patience and application and concentration for Worcestershire, all those boring words that coaches use. Finch again defends.
I think I might bring the pillow tomorrow if this is going to be the case. Because they're not, well, clearly they're just trying to see it through to the end of the day, and that's totally understandable. They're not, there's no real attempt at scoring any runs, which is why I was suggesting Matthew Fisher might just bowl it that bit straighter.
4 slips for Steckety. From the Diglis end in towards us, and that's again defended by Finch, just dabbed out on the offside. Revis says that's my ball.
At least Steckety is asking Finch to use the willow.
In that Derbyshire game, which was the last home game Worcestershire had, they started the second innings 341 behind, so there was never really a point at which they were going to get ahead on the scoreboard. Now tomorrow there is that element of getting in front, because when you do, obviously it doubles the impact of every run you score. Finch again tries to get right across with that front foot, get outside the line, gets the bat well out of the way, and the ball from Steckety goes through to Tattersall.
I think Yorkshire caught really well in the first innings. There weren't many in the way of obvious errors in that regard. Took some good catches, and they're going to need to do the same, aren't they, second time, maximise any opportunities they create.
Because there's I suppose just the possibility they might be left with a very short dart at the end, but they will be left to chase. I just think of a number. If Worcestershire bat for 2 sessions, maybe into the 3rd session, would Yorkshire be left to get 90 in 15 overs or something of that order? Potentially Worcestershire bat most of the day, but can't quite see it out.
Yeah, possibly.
Well, depends how well can these two get through the last 4 overs today, and again how much protection can they offer the top order at the start tomorrow.
Fisher then to bowl here to Gibbon, who's on 4 second time around, undefeated for 45 on the day, and that's going to be another 4 because he's opened the face and run it down through 3rd man, taking his score onto 8, and Worcestershire's second time around onto 11 without loss. Primitive Drift tweets, "Can you give a get well to my dad, Phil Lazenby?" There you go, Phil, get well. He says, "We've come to Worcester and he's been ill all day, so I had to watch it on YouTube in the apartment." Which is a shame, but hopefully picking up. Hi again to Audrey Woodhouse as well, who I spoke to yesterday. I mentioned her on her 88th birthday. Was trying to get a mention in this morning. Must confess, no excuses. I forgot until just before lunch when I picked up a voicemail, and then of course they were off for that length of time. She was going out this afternoon, couldn't get the mention in beforehand, but hopefully that'll do for you, Audrey, if you're back with us now. How's Fisher? Well, Gibbon drawn into having a little push at that, but can't get bat on ball. 5.2 overs in second time around. A frustrating afternoon, a very good morning for Yorkshire, but the opposite in the afternoon. Have they let it slip, or is there still enough time, or maybe even ample time, to take 10 Worcestershire wickets second time? Another good delivery, Matthew Fisher. Incredulous that ball has not taken a wicket for him. Gibbon beaten outside off stump, and he was almost holding an imaginary ball in his hand and just trying to kick it away in frustration.
Sometimes the numbers don't always tell you how a bowler's bowled, do they? You can end up with 5 wickets and feel you've bowled much better when you've maybe only taken 1. Chances to go to hand. The old long hop gets stuck up in the air.
Here he comes past umpire Mills. Good delivery. Oh, again he's beaten Gibbon, and he's starting to feel better from Matthew Fisher, but clearly it's either not quite straight enough, or it's deviating quite significantly from the straight, perhaps. But another dot.
Friends with the camera, heading off. He's done his day.
John Heald. Here's Fisher. That's a good length ball, and Gibbon right behind it, pushing into the offside. So just the boundary off the over so far from the bat of Gibbon. 1 ball remaining.
I think from a Worcestershire persuasion, I think the supporters will have been heartened by the determination of these two from a position which looked, very weak indeed when they came together earlier on today.
Fisher in again. Gibbon right behind it, and the ball kicked away by Matthew Fisher down the other end. Not sure that's in keeping with keeping it in good nick. Matthew Revis goes and gives him a cuddle on his way back to the boundary. I guess as somebody who's now bowling himself on a regular basis, he gets the frustrations of not being able to take the wicket that you think you might deserve. Tattersall and George Hill both getting their fill-ins in as well, and having a few words with Fish as he disappears off to the long leg boundary. 11 without loss after 6 overs, and just 3 remain on day 3.
Yes, can Worcestershire get to the start of the last one? Once they do, they know that even if a wicket falls, there won't be a frontline batsman exposed tonight, and Steckerty's first ball of his last but 1 over of the day, possibly his last over of the day, who knows, is let go by Finch through to Tattersall. If you're hearing Finch and Gibbon's name together, you're thinking, oh, Worcestershire got their last wicket pair together. Well, yes and no. This was the last wicket pair in the first innings, but it's also the opening pair in the second innings. Here is Steckerty once more, and that's short, and Finch ducks out of the way. Because with only 9 overs to go, Alan Richardson and Kadir Ali, these two having batted for 35 overs from mid-afternoon, clearly felt they were the most likely 2 batters to see out this awkward little session for Worcestershire tonight. 165 behind, follow on enforced, and they are now 11 without loss. Steckerty in once more again. Finch getting right across and getting the bat right out of the way, and Tattersall takes. Those who do there's a company called Opta that do all the stats, a lot of which is fed into the main cricket websites, ones like Cricinfo and the BBC one for that matter. And they also do charts for how each ball ends up. Here is Steckerty in once more, and Finch again. This time does play defensively back up the pitch. I wonder what the charts for the leaves today would be. So, certainly Azhar Ali early on this morning wasn't playing anything he didn't have to, and this pair as well when they were batting in the first innings were much the same. Steckerty once again. Oh, that's it again in a awkward place. There is a yelp from the bowler, but not answered in the affirmative. 11 without loss it remains. 2 overs and 1 ball left on this third day, and quite a good number of the spectators have stayed right to the end, and that may be to give these two, if they can survive, a really good round of applause for their batting efforts today. Steckerty in once more, and again a leave from Finch. So they're judging where their respective off stumps are pretty well, these two at the moment, and they have done on a day when Ben Gibbons recorded his highest ever first class score. He was 41 not out when Finch was dismissed for 24. Last man out in Worcestershire's first innings, 242, and they're now just trying to see Worcestershire to stumps with all 10 wickets still in hand.
Fisher then, 3 overs for 10, bowling here to Gibbon from the New Road end. Gibbon over the top and pushing out into the offside. This, I said Yorkshire's catching's been good. There have been some errors in terms of their ground feeling. There's another case in point there with Moriarty missing one.
I think he took his eye off the ball, wanted to see where the batsmen were in terms of a possible throw and which end to throw it to, and of course you take your eye off the ball and it goes past you and you lose the chance of a possible pressure situation for the batsman over a run out.
4 slips waiting. Can Fisher draw an opportunity for them? Not with this delivery, which Finch is stepping forward and then shouldering arms to. Those that were in this morning, I think, largely look as though they remain spectator-wise. It might have dwindled by a few in this final session. But if you're a home supporter, it certainly held the interest with that final wicket stand. Quite a few Yorkers have travelled down. Enjoy Worcester in the area. Fisher in. Finch shouldering arms to another one. Usual stuff from the Yorkshire supporters, of course. Lovely part of the world down here. But it's not Yorkshire.
But when you come from a county that has so much to offer geographically, you always compare it to home, don't you?
I don't mind anybody having pride in where they're from. That's absolutely fine and understandable. The locals here probably think this is the best place for scenery and all the rest of it, as Finch just runs that one down into the gully region. Rickleton doing the fielding. I think there's a lot of that about around the counties and around the country. That's fine.
Yeah, and I think as somebody who also lives not in not within Hereford and Worcester myself, but semi-rural location. I'm not a big fan of city life myself.
Fisher in again, and over the top of it, Finch once more, no run. I mean, they're entitled to an opinion, like, but they're all balmy because there is only one that counts.
Well, wasn't there a chart during the London 2012 Olympics that said Yorkshire had more medals than certain other countries?
Yeah. At one stage we were about 5th on the medal table.
Yes,
something like that.
something like that.
Yorkshire produced medals. Of course, the Tour de France only got its credibility when it came to Yorkshire. Took over a century or something like that. Nicely played again by Finch here, and that's going to be 4 more through third man. Just an open face from both he and from Gibbon off Matthew Fisher, who is livid and is throwing his arms up in the air, and I dare say if he had any toys out there with him on the field, they might be over the boundary by now. Frustration, Matthew Fisher. 4 overs, no maidens, none for 15. Steckerty's not gone for a run yet.
There is no justice.
16 without loss, Worcestershire, second time around. This pair, what did they have for the final wicket? In the
63.
First? 63, so I reckon that's 79 for 1, this pair today.
Yep.
From your last pair is one heck of an effort.
Very good.
And your first pair, I suppose. Now.
Yeah, and we now know that if a wicket falls, the players will go off. This is the last over of the day. Steckerty's lost his run halfway up, so he'll pull out and return to the end of his mark.
It'd be a blessed relief for the Yorkshire players out there if they do take a wicket in more ways than one.
Still a 4 slips in. To be fair, Bean's got 2 good catches there today, and Lythe's taken 1, and Hill 1 actually as well. Steered away on the bounce to Revis at backward point. Rickleton, who is at 4th slip, took a tidy effort himself at short cover. The only occasion we saw that stumps dislodged was when Adam Hose was out, bowled by a good ball from Matthew Fisher. I'd say that's the only good one he's bowled today. He's beaten the bat quite a bit, but that was the one that he will probably remember. Steckerty in the last over of the day. 4 balls after this one, and Gibbon again stands tall, gets his bat well inside the line, doesn't really push it towards the ball, and taken by Tattersall. Bit of chat from the captain keeper. Although they might change the field in this last over, but he's sticking with what he's set up at the moment. Walton in at short leg under the lid, and Steckerty into Gibbon, who I think he tried to work that into the onside, but he got it off the outside half of the bat, and it went out to Moriarty at short extra. He's the only player in front of square on the offside. Revis is just behind square, stood next to the umpire, David Milnes. And Buzz, of course, switching ends after the second innings. So Chris Watts is going to have Steckerty steaming past him, and once again that's let go outside the off stump. 2 balls left for this pair. I wonder how drained they will feel tonight, having batted for this length of time. I bet they'll sleep well. I know what it'll feel like to have a day in the field. I mean, you've perhaps bowled 20 overs, but different element of concentration when you're batting and you're literally involved for every ball. Steckerty again in, and Gibbon jabs down on it. The light has just about held, in this latter part of the day. So, although we've lost 16 overs on the day, that's not been too bad in the overall scheme of things, particularly with a full day likely tomorrow, and a day in which, in all probability, there are 2 results possible. Probably not more than that. Given defends the last ball. Oh, is that there is one more? There is one more.
You've not done a David Coleman there, have you? Peaked too early.
He was a story for another day, perhaps, along with Ron Pickering, just very, very good at calling top athletics meetings.
Brilliant. 1-0.
But you get a distance race in an Olympic Games and you wouldn't want anybody else behind a microphone.
No.
Steckety then, with the last ball of the day, which Gibbon does drive down the ground. How many will he get for it? He'll get 4. I think it's going to go all the way to the rope at long off. And Ben Gibbon has today made more than 50 runs across 2 innings without being dismissed. He's made 54, in fact, without being dismissed, and Worcestershire close on 22 without loss. So their deficit is still 143. They have got 10 wickets in hand, and they, Jonathan, have got to show the same determination tomorrow if they're going to get out of this match with a draw.
Yeah, I mean, apparently the pitch has still got something in it, the ball's got something in it, the way that Matthew Fisher's been reacting to how he's been bowling. He's still getting pats on the back from the lads coming off. So there's something in it for the bowlers. They can have a good night's sleep and come back tomorrow knowing that they still need the 10 wickets, but it's there for them, isn't it? They took, what was it, 89.3 overs in the end to bowl Worcestershire out first time, just over 90 overs batting themselves. So that's about the long and short of it, isn't it? I know that was a long last stand, but it's averaged out that they're both batted for similar lengths of time, and they've got that sort of length of time tomorrow to take 10 wickets. But if it's taking that length of time, then Worcestershire, you would think, would be a fair way on. So they're going to need to find a way to shorten the time of taking those Worcestershire 10 wickets, so that if they do need to score some, they've got time themselves to finish it off. But you can do no more than try your best, and they certainly have for Worcestershire. Ben Gibbon and Adam Finch, tremendous effort. I do feel like Yorkshire just lost their way after that 9th wicket was taken in terms of what they were trying to achieve out there. I don't know, I'm not privy to obviously what that was, and maybe there'll be conversations take place after we've gone off air, but was that foot off the gas? That's what it felt like, or was it that, as you see with these things these days in managing of workloads, Matthew Fisher and Ben Code had come to the end of their tether for that moment in time, and somebody else, it's down to somebody else to take the wicket, but maybe they just prolonged that when you might have turned back to those two a little bit sooner to try and get it wrapped up. They deal with what they deal with now, don't they? They've got 143
correct.
Lead,
143
runs to play with before they're having to bat again. So we'll see how things shape up tomorrow. But I think sort of a day of 2 halves, really, wasn't it? So first half of it, Yorkshire's. Second half of it, you've got to say, particularly that final stand was the home side.
Thank you for your company on the emails and other contributions today through the various platforms. The sum total of it, a trickle of Worcestershire wickets steadily through until mid-afternoon, when Yorkshire appeared to be well on